Hello, welcome to the October 15th, 2021 edition of News from the Front Lines of Business by DW Huff Consulting, where we help entrepreneurs know their numbers. All right, so welcome to News from the Front Lines for this week here. It's Friday. Looks like we've all managed to survive another week here, and let's just jump right into it. So fun for numbers for the week is 11. So if you're like me, watching a lot of football, and those games typically I've noticed are in about the 3 hour range for most of them. And one statistic here is that this 11-minute figure represents how much time you're actually seeing football action as opposed to advertisements, people in the huddle, halftime show, etc., etc. So 11 minutes of football over 3 hours, but I'll still be watching this weekend regardless. So that's an interesting number for the week here. All right, so news from the front line. So not too much happened as far as the new legislation that's brewing. However, we do know that this one item that keeps coming up and is this very hotly debated topic here is this new proposed reporting requirement of $600. So one thing IRS is trying to do is expand reporting. So as it is now, the IRS, they can get their information from your bank account via other methods, but they don't have it reported to them every day in the same way that let's say a W-2 or a 1099 form is communicated to them. So we're starting to see a lot of debate. So it's, the banks obviously think this is going to be an extra cost for them to provide more reporting information because there's record keeping and IT requirements there. And I'm just taken aback by some of the comments in favor of it. So here, Yellen here is over here. Kind of in charge of the Fed, saying that she thinks it's okay and it's not an overreach. And we've seen several other articles by attorneys and other people who are familiar with data collection and and security of information that are very opposed to this because this is going to be a massive database of fraud. So now this information about these transactions and account balances is going to be stored on another hackable database somewhere that's controlled by the government, and you can't always trust the people at the government to do it right with that information well. So it's ripe for fraud, and it's just making it that much easier for one other entity to have this information. But you're seeing debates on both sides of the table here, and my opinion is that the threshold needs to be a lot higher to avoid having this be an overly tedious process here. And and as it is now, I don't think what it's proposed is going to end any of this underreporting that they expect to catch as a result of seeing more of these transactions. So we'll keep an eye on that, but I am in disagreement. The second point here is on these stimulus notices. So we're starting to see more and more letters come back regarding stimulus miscalculations, and it's been very tedious and annoying. So if you haven't received one yet, good for you. But people receive these recovery rebate credits and different checks in 2020, and on the tax returns that got filed in 2021 that were reporting 2020 information, there were a couple questions asked about how much of these payments you may have received. And if you didn't receive enough, you were supposed to get that included into your refund for that particular filing. And if you received a little bit too much because of the way that the money was dispersed, you were not supposed to have to pay it back. But now these letters are going out for people who should have gotten more of it. In some cases, we're seeing where even though this money was not supposed to be refunded back to the government if they mistakenly overpaid you, we're seeing that. We're seeing these vague penalty calculations stating that you made a miscalculation. In some cases, many cases, it's wrong because they don't give any details on how they got to their calculation. So the ones we've had to receive, we've had to go back into our tax program and look at the way it was calculated and send back just the worksheet that shows how it's calculated. Basically, say, well, show me how it's wrong. So expect even more of that to keep going on. If it seems like I don't know if it's computer generated or how these things are getting triggered, but it's just making more and more issues. I mean, you can't get anybody on a telephone. They're very backlogged in that department. So you're forced to kind of send a letter with documentation and just kind of put it in the queue to be processed. And we know that they're very overloaded right now, so that's going to be a slow process. And we hope that there won't be any more collection actions taken while this stuff is kind of working its way out. But the tone of the letter it's like you have some sort of error on your return, and it could be their error. So I mean, so everything imaginable is wrong with this next round of letters that's going out here. You know, the tone, the calculations, the right to appeals not being noticed. So there's been a couple articles that, you know, whenever they send you an assessment of taxes, they're also supposed to give you other information that lets you know, as a taxpayer, what your rights are to appeal that determination. So I'm concerned that some people, some taxpayers who don't have representation or who are not accustomed to dealing with us, are going to get these letters and just pay it without knowing that A, it could be wrong, how they came up with the number to begin with from IRS, and the fact that if it is right, you do have a right to appeal and get it sent to an appeal officer's desk for further review. So just problems out the wazoo with the way these things are being assessed. So and that's kind of the latest news for this week. But yeah, so that's it. So we don't want to get too bogged down with it. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the nice weather. So here we're looking at the forecast for this upcoming weekend down here in South Louisiana. And we got mid 70s, very little humidity, a little bit of wind, next to no rain chance here. So expecting everybody to have a good weekend and enjoy themselves, get out of the office, stop working, stop worrying about money, and have some fun with this gorgeous weather that you only get so many of these days in the year. So take advantage of them. So with that, that's it for this week's News from the Front Lines. We'll see you next week.